Welcome back. Well, increasingly the natural resources portfolio is all about pipelines. A new minister was appointed in mid-March, and Greg Rickford is just back from his first G7 summit in the portfolio. He joins us live with his parents watching from the sidelines. Congratulations on the portfolio, Greg.
It's good to be back on the show.
It sounds to me like you encountered in Europe people that are getting very nervous about a dependency on Russia, and they're looking for other markets. I guess you put your hand in the air.
Yeah.
How do you get our energy to there?
Well, there's two parts to it, actually. The context in which the meeting arose was with respect to the current conditions or situation with Ukraine. In terms of energy, that was a supply and security issue for them, almost completely relying on Russia. So, of course, there are a number of other Eastern European countries nearly in the same situation, and then farther west in Europe, of course, some degree of dependency. So the plan was to make a political statement, which we did. I'm not sure if you read the joint statement.
It's right here.
You know, strongly opposed to Russia's actions, the violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and that energy shouldn't be used as a means of coercion. From there, a conversation developed around some medium-term solutions, which are reasonable. Obviously, Canada and the United States feel well-positioned over the medium term to ramp up their capacity to source and diversify the supply for Europe.
Exactly.
2017 to 2020, that's reasonable. Canada's felt that way all along.
By then, the east-west pipeline should be going west-east.
We hope that there are more
expanding.
directions in every sense, yes.
So that the plan is, like, right now we're talking about we don't want to just go south. Canada doesn't want to just send south along Keystone if that gets approved. You obviously want to get the Northern Gateway and Trans Mountain pumped to the west, but the east, could that be the surprise in all this energy security thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's right now it's just in the planning phases. They've put something to the National Energy Board, but obviously a full-scale review would have to be performed. But so far the signals seem to be positive, and I'm hopeful.
I want to get your thoughts. Earlier this week, President Barack Obama unveiled his climate assessment. Pretty grim stuff. Climate change is happening. It's an exact science now. It's not a science for the future. He certainly seemed to be suggesting that this was going to become a hill to die on, if you will. Do you worry that that was a message he was sending to the Keystone, that this isn't going to go anywhere?
I don't personally. I think that I obviously raised it with Secretary Moniz at the G7 bilateral I had with him. We believe that and so does the State Department, by the way, believe that based on science, there's a compelling environmental and business case to proceed with Keystone. We've always advocated that. We've maintained our position that this project should move forward. What we see now is, in our view, just a delay. I'm trying to remain eternally optimistic about this. I can't speculate whether President Obama was, doing some sort of preemptive messaging, but I can tell you that we remain positive, and we know that there's a lot of support, not just from state to state along the pipeline, the supply chain, business communities and politicians invested in that, and as we just found out, a majority of Americans support the pipeline. So we should keep that in mind as well.
That bill, though, that would have overridden the need for an Obama approval has apparently died on the Senate floor, but that's for American politics. I want to get back to Canadian. Aboriginal leaders on the West Coast are getting increasingly, I guess the word belligerent's almost, they're saying that we're going to do stuff to disrupt the Northern Gateway if it goes ahead, and that Enbridge should really save its money and not bother to build it in the first place. You've had a lot of experience with Aboriginal leaders as an MP before you became a cabinet minister.
Right.
What's your message to them? I mean, calm down. What do you want to say to them?
Well, first of all, with respect to Northern Gateway, obviously that's a decision that's before Cabinet, so I can't make too many comments that way. But on the Aboriginal consultation piece, we, not just through the National Energy Board, but in my own work, preempting becoming the Minister of Natural Resources, and quite recently in my new capacities, I've reached out to a number of First Nation stakeholders. Some of them are actually involved in things like pipeline safety. I think we have to continue to work on improving that communication. We'll be out in British Columbia as early as next week, and I think the exercise there is to make sure that This is a fully integrated notion of resource development. The First Nations communities have every opportunity to be involved in the safety aspects of it. That creates a greater understanding. There seems to be a willingness to do that, and of course being involved in the environmental process, I can speak to Ring of Fire, has made an important contribution. Land use planning, cultural mapping, those are all important facets of an environmental assessment or a joint review panel, or the work that the National Energy Board does, and not to mention the business opportunities for jobs, growth, and economic prosperity for all communities, including First Nations.
You raised Ring of Fire. Let's talk about it. That was an area you were responsible for, and you still are.
Still am.
The province has said we'll put $1 billion into getting full-time access to the area, which is the key to getting that mining site developed. Copper, I guess, is the main one.
Chromite.
I'm curious. Yes, right. I'm curious. I mean, you're going to be an accelerator or a brake, because they're saying their contribution is contingent upon the feds kicking in an equal amount.
Well, actually, I think what they said is that it's not contingent upon it, but it was a call out to us. And of course, I think in those regards, and I've said, Don, I would prefer that this not be politicized, frankly. This is a legacy resource development project for the province of Ontario, and particularly for us who call ourselves proud Northern Ontarians. There's a great opportunity here, and last year we recognized that through Canada's Economic Action Plan. The Build Canada Fund is intended to address large-scale infrastructure projects, and we've been well positioned to advance those this spring. We went through a thorough consultation process, and my only concern would have been that the province, obviously in an election, would put some kind of a delay on that. I hope that's not the case, but we're poised to contribute to those major infrastructure projects, and in the meantime, we've been very active. We have almost 260 students, First Nations from Ottawa communities, at Confederation College enrolled in skills training, job readiness, investments in First Nations communities from small business centers and the like. So we're doing our job. We hope that the province comes on board.
We'll see whoever is the governing party after this election. Thank you very much, Greg Rickford.